Revelation chapter 13, the beast out of the sea and the beast out of the earth, a topic that has sparked much debate throughout all of history, and a topic that many conspiracy theories have come out of, much discussion about the end times and about the Antichrist. And my original plan for this video was to go over Revelation chapter 13 and split it into two parts. One part where we talk about the beast out of the sea, and the second part where we talk about the beast out of the earth. And then I go over all of the world leaders throughout history and compare them to this Antichrist figure that many people associate the beast out of the sea with. But in light of recent events and just thoughts circling my head, that didn't make sense to me, so I did more thinking and I came up with a new plan for this video, and it goes into a theory that has been building slowly in my mind for a long time. So my original plan for this video is going to be condensed into the following episode after this. This study of Revelation 13 is still going to be two parts, but in the first one we're going to talk about what I actually think, and I'm going to go into this theory in depth, and I'm going to support it using different parts throughout the whole Bible. And we're going to start by reading Revelation 13. I'm going to use NIV just so it sounds very understandable to the viewer, and I've taken the liberty of comparing it to King James and Dewey Rhymes, and the translation is still pretty much the same for all of them. It doesn't really change any of the context or message used. But anyway, this is right after the woman and the dragon. It's been a while since our last episode, but we left off with the dragon standing on the shore of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Men worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshipped the beast and asked, "Who is like the beast? Who can make war against him?" The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, to exercise his authority for 42 months. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. He was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. And he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. He who has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on part of the saints. So that's the beast out of the sea. Then we have the beast out of the earth. Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. He exercised all authority of the first beast on his behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And he performed great miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of men. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. He ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that it could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for his man's number. His number is 666. That's where we get that, demonic number from, that has been kind of a part of pop culture and such for a long time, and that also ties into what I'm going to get into. But real quick, I'm going to skip ahead to Revelation 17, and that is because the first beast, the beast out of the sea, has a reappearance in here, and we have a little more description of it. So starting in 17 verse 7, we have, "Then the angel said to me, why are you astonished? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and of the beast she rides, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and will come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits." This is talking about Mystery Babylon. We'll get into that when the episode arrives. It's not about Mystery Babylon, this woman. It's about the beast she sits on. "They are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for a little while. The beast who once was, now is not, is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose and will give their power and authority to the beast. They will make war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will overcome them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And with him will be his called chosen faithful followers." So that was a lot. And I will, put that on the screen and provide like a little spark notes of all that. So you can pause, you can look over all of the key notes from that reading. But let's start by using what Jesus has told us about the end times to help us decipher this very confusing and very ominous prophecy. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 37 to 39, Jesus compares the end times to the days of Noah. Well, what exactly was going on in the days of Noah? If we go and look back, we will find that the sons of God, or the angels, mingled themselves with the sons of man. So the fallen angels who followed after the devil, they came and they had children with, human women. And that created the Nephilim and these hybrid giant, men of renown that many people are coming to believe all ancient theologies are based off of these, men of renown. Greek gods, Roman gods, all these things being the hybrids and stuff, or the fallen angels that people worship back in the day. But what did God do in this time to save humanity? He sent a flood. It washed these giants away, and we have not really found any remnants of these giants since then. They were lost in the flood. Were they permanently lost in the flood? Well, that's what we're going to get into here. So, in the Old Testament, demons had children with men. This produced the Nephilim, or the Anunnaki, as other people would say. God had to get rid of them because they were choking out humanity. He sends a flood. The Nephilim were drowned, submerged in the water. Fast forward to the New Testament. We have people speaking of the Antichrist and Antichrists, plural. These are in the books of John. And we also have what we just read about the beasts. In the book of Daniel, beasts are kind of used to illustrate nations or kingdoms or organizations of people. The first beast is out of the sea. The Nephilim were drowned in the sea. We live in a world of corrupt elites at every level that are controlling everything, and as time has gone on, that notion has become exponentially more true and more prevalent. In Ephesians 6 verse 12 we read, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." And other translations, that is spiritual wickedness in high places. It says it right there. Nowadays, through political differences and differences of circumstance, we really separate ourselves from our fellow man. And the funny thing about that is, We are picking a fight with the only people we can see when we have this political division, or when we want to start fights with people that we disagree with. We're actually lashing out against the only target we can see, because the spiritual wickedness in high places, we only face the repercussion of that. We only see that through the bad things happening in our life. Very few of us have ever seen an authority or a leader of this world in person, and I'm going to get into that even more. But Ephesians 6 verse 12 would have us believe that the neighbor we're fighting with, or the coworker we don't get along with, or the hoodlums running about in the street causing trouble, that is actually not our enemy, but our enemy are the people pulling the strings, the authorities, the powers, the wickedness in high places. These corrupt elites are actually our enemy. And I would tend to believe that in light of the recent things we see in the world. We have a lot more in common with the average person, even though we might not get along with them, than we do the elites and the leaders who try to lead us after them. But anyway, what I am proposing is that every theory about aliens, lizard people, soul selling and pop culture, tech, political and financial spheres, all those theories have a grain of truth to them. Every kind of schizo conspiracy theorist, they have a basis for their claim. There's at least a little bit of truth in almost every theory you hear. And that there is, in fact, a pyramid of demonic offspring that started in the New Testament, of people mingling with the children of the devil and infiltrating the government and places of authority around the world. You know, nobility, wealthy families, elite social circles. What I'm proposing is world stage theory. And I don't think the world stage was always set in such a complete fashion, but rather infiltrated by these hybrids. Over time, the consistency became thicker and thicker, that they choked out normal people, just as in the days of Noah. So let me repeat that one more time. When Revelation took place and there were these prophecies, I do think that the beasts started to come out of the sea. We started to see these Nephilim infiltrating the government, these wicked leaders planting themselves in positions of power throughout the world. Wasn't complete, wasn't set in stone at all, but it's just that over time they started to come out more and more and more. So we do know that God is not slack concerning his promises, as others concern slack, but it's just happening slowly. It took a lot of time for all the pieces in this beast out of the sea to come into place. It took a long time for such a large beast to crawl out of the sea. Throughout history, we did see world leaders and, celebrities and politicians that were legit. But over time, it's just the consistency became thicker and thicker of these hybrid beings. You were either born into an Anunnakian lineage, or you joined ritualistically and perhaps rebelled against the spirit with these demonic rituals, and that's how you became indoctrinated into the family. In addition to coming out of the sea makes up 3/4 of the earth. Water makes up about that much of our body as well. So if it makes sense that this first beast is one of a physical body, because physical body is 3/4 water, well, so is the earth. A powerful organization of flesh and blood. This is the first beast. This first beast has 7 heads, which are the 7 mountains that the prostitute stands on. We were talking about that from chapter 17. There are 7 continents. The heads and horns the beast has are kings. We have earthly rulers. But notice how all of these kingdoms are part of the same beast. They aren't a bunch of little beasts warring against each other. They are one. It would take years of preparation to assemble the world in such a way, but I believe that this is why we received the end times prophecies so early on, and why they sounded so urgent when they were spoken, as if they were happening soon, and yet we are still here. The world hasn't ended yet. We don't have this mark on our foreheads or on our arms or whatever, but we did have a sense of urgency with all these prophecies. And I think that is because, again, it took a lot of time to get there. It took a lot of time for the beast to fully get out of the sea. And I think even still we aren't quite there yet, because we aren't in the tribulation, which this beast, or at least I don't think that this beast would take part in. But now the beast is just about here. And it is said, who can make war with the beast? And the world stood in awe of the beast. Doesn't this sound like the hopelessness we feel being subjugated to the government? And I mean, I'm an American making this video, and there are nations that have it a lot worse with the hand they're dealt on behalf of their government. Some normal average civilians have no rights and are completely subject to their government's, desire. They have financial caps. They can't even make that much of a life for themselves because the government has placed a cap on everything they do. So the one thing we have in common with everybody everywhere in the world is that our fate is kind of at the hands of whatever our tyrant leader would demand of us. Another thing we have in common is that we are all watching our nations collapse at the civilian level. Prices are rising. We're seeing that third seal of the apocalypse, a day's wages for a loaf of bread, and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't see or interact with these leaders. We have no access to them. And so how can we possibly make war against this threat we face? And the whole world is in awe of this system. World leaders, celebrities, everybody follows it like it's a soap opera or something, like it's live TV, like it's entertainment. They're all in awe and they're captivated by these people, these men of renown. So now we're moving on to the beast out of the earth. And I want to make this video as unadulterated by conspiracy, even though it is a theory video, as possible. So what I mean by that is I don't want to use anything from the book of Enoch, because people don't even know if the book of Enoch is a real part of the Bible. And the book of Enoch suggests that a lot of tools that humans have were made and taught to us by these fallen angels in the early times. But we're gonna just push that aside for a second, and we're gonna take technology and the internet. These are tools, and throughout history humanity has made tools and we have become more independent with them, but that has also kind of removed our need to pray about things and rely on God to make it through the day. If you think about in Genesis, we are promised like hard labor, toiling on the land in order to eat, but we have basically invented ourselves in a circle away from that lifestyle, and that is using tools. And one of the most recent tools is the internet. In the early days of the internet, what is the fruit on the tree of a lot of the people that had their hands in the internet? They say lizard people. Have you ever heard a technocrat say anything that sounds normal or human? Just think about Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin. The list goes on and on. Do these people who are so influential in this digital sphere and are honestly making the most money off of it, do they have any fruit on their tree to suggest that they're on the side of you, the average, everyday, ordinary person whose fate is in the balance? Jesus says that he will advocate for the poor, and he also says that it is easier for a camel to pass through a needle than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. So, the person whose fate is undecided is the average person, the person who's in between. But do these people sound at all like they are on behalf of that human side? Not really. Technology and our tools slowly led us away from that covenant in Genesis, and 21st century life, ushered in by the beast out of the sea, is the end stage of that. No longer living naturally off the land, but inventing ourselves in a circle around the Genesis covenant. We have a lot of jobs that, if we were on an island, would not be needed at all. All that we would really need is, food, water, and shelter. But again, we've created a lot of new needs for ourselves. And AI, I believe, is the final tool of the human race. And it has been built to sort of be a replacement of God, trying to do all the things God can do and intervene. Remember that in a previous episode we talked about that if you are religious in any way, AI is basically being created to replace that God of yours. If you believe in evolution, you are simultaneously taking away your need to evolve by having a tool that does everything for you, while also building up the one thing that can bump you off of the food pyramid. So AI is both anti-God and anti-evolution. Furthermore, these supercomputers that AI is running off of need quartz. Quartz is a material that comes out of Earth, as is every material that we use to build these tools. Most things we see on our phones, which are basically magic mirrors scientifically built, if you really think about it, all the screens, even the device you were watching this video on, it's basically a magic mirror you use to conjure me, and I am now speaking to you. It's scientifically built, we can walk through the process of how this is built, but it is just a slim piece of material that you can see a face talking to you on, and that you can receive information, you can receive prophecies about the weather from. It's basically just a magic mirror. But these tools, these magic mirrors, do give power to celebrities and leaders we never see. Most of us have never interacted with an elite, a celebrity, a world leader, a wealthy banker, and we never hear from them outside of these magic mirrors. We wouldn't even know that they exist unless it was from these devices that we get all of our news from. And now they're building data centers everywhere, which are destroying the air, water, and peace of the normal, average, everyday citizen. Remember that God says the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The internet, and even more so AI, are prophets in a way, in a sense that we ask all of our questions to it now. We look everything up on the internet, and the internet and AI has become the mediator between our question and the answer. That's where we get all of our information. So, the beast that came out of the sea, in my theory, would be these demigod, alien, reptile people that have mingled themselves into the high levels. Remember Ephesians verse 6, wickedness in high places against authorities and powers. And they built a beast out of materials from the earth, which is giving them power. And if you think about it, the devices we have are what we use to worship celebrities. It's what we follow and obsess over them, and how we constantly have these different world leaders on our mind. This beast out of the earth, the internet, or AI, or both, that is what gives power and helps us worship that first beast. It's what keeps them constantly on our mind. And now using that second beast, AI, we have mass surveillance, and profiles can be built on everyone in seconds that can predict their activity and intercept them from committing crimes and things like that. So it is creating an order through chaos. And we hear that they're talking about giving everybody a digital ID and Neuralink chips and stuff. And all of this, it very much so sounds like the amalgamation of it will look like that mark of the beast. We know that the Bible is very clear in every translation that the mark of the beast will be on the forearm or the forehead of every human being. So we know that at the very least we are not there yet, but you can see how it's very close at the rate things are going. They're already trying to build data centers everywhere, and the average human, remember the person that the actual fate hangs in the balance of, the person that actually matters, you can't do anything about it. So, you know that right around the corner, it is not some fairy tale or crazy to believe whatsoever that they will try to impose a mark that you have to wear in order to, buy, trade, or sell. Because remember, God is in control of the land. God gives life, and to live like you did in Genesis or on an island or something, you would be constantly in contact with the Lord. You would be praying that your crops would grow. But we have invented ourselves into a society where we actually need things that we created, not God. and now the mark of the beast will dictate how you are able to really function in that society. So we're not there yet, but this is the reason why this is the most important video I've ever made, is because we are pretty close. And if all of this makes sense to you, you can now understand why. Now I would say 83% positive that I am correct in this theory. But as for that 17% that I'm going to make a follow-up video and go over other possibilities with this first and second beast and the potential man of sin. Because in the world stage theory, the man of sin talked about in other prophecies that don't include a beast, but include one man, a wicked ruler. This man would in fact be one figurehead in this, elite circle, this beast out of the sea system. That is where the man of sin would stand in this first theory. In my next video, I will go over the other possibilities, because again, not everything makes sense, and I'm only human, I'm not God, and I have not been told by God directly that this is correct, but I have prayed for vast wisdom, guidance, and discernment on this subject, and I myself have done a ton of thinking on it. But I could be wrong, and there are still some things that I'm a little uncertain on. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Because of the unparalleled importance of this video, please make sure that you share. And stay tuned, because we will continue our Revelation study and dive into all these questions that I'm sure we all have. And I love you guys. God bless y'all. Peace out, and I will see y'all next time.